The following podcast is brought to you by Iconic Nation Media.
Hi, I am Tatiana, but you can call me Tata. I am so excited to provide you with helpful insights and create a safe, cozy space where you can ask me anything about parenting. Each week, we will spotlight specific parenting topics to help guide you to be the best parent you can be. We are here to support you, help overcome challenges, and have some laughs along the way. With that, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, my beautiful people. I am here with a very, very special guest, Elissa Kalver, founder and CEO of We Got This and Live Like It Matters. That's right. But that's not the most important title. It is that she is one of my closest friends here in LA. Welcome to the parenting experience, Elissa.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I'm already having fun just with you and the environment. This is perfect.
Oh, thank you, Mama. Thank you for joining us in this crazy adventure.
Of course, that's what we do, right?
Yeah. So, Ellie, tell your audience a little bit of who you are before I start asking, a little bit of raw questions. You are definitely a person that I admire since the moment I met you so much. I think I harassed you. Right? I harassed you. We met in the kids' school, and I truly had no friends. And I said, I like her, and I like her vibe, and let me harass her. And you have become one of our closest friends with your husband, Eric, and your beautiful daughter, Ellie. So tell us a little bit about you before we dig more into what We Got This is all about.
Well, let me first clarify the harassment question, because when we first got to have a play date, I remember you weren't available to come. So Mark and Asher came over and showed up with the cutest flowers and all that stuff, and a handwritten note from you to me of saying how you'd love to connect. It was the nicest thing. You're just such a outpouring of love. And I think, maybe subconsciously us, cancer warriors sometimes find each other. And so that's definitely a big part of both of our stories.
Yes.
And as you know, I was diagnosed with metastatic stage 4 breast cancer 4 years ago. And it was just before Ellie's first birthday. So we didn't meet until a year or two later.
Yes.
And when I was diagnosed, I knew nothing about breast cancer other than what you think you know, right? And the pink things and all of that. And when I learned more about my cancer and what metastatic meant, of it being stage 4 and that it had spread, it really changed a lot in those areas. So became a mom of, a 1-year-old to within a couple days, mom battling cancer with a 1-year-old. And it's so amazing community, like the wonderful friends who make sure that we get to connect.
Yes. That
has made it, a really wonderfully powerful experience and created so many silver linings in such a difficult time.
I bet you are. And tell me a little bit your motherhood. Yeah. Tell us about Ellie, and because she was 8 months old when you got diagnosed.
It was just a few days before her first birthday. Okay. Yeah. But, leading up to Ellie, motherhood took a little bit of extra time for us. And it's so interesting how you forget that later on, but we did a little bit of fertility stuff to have Ellie. And in growing up, actually, I had endometriosis as a kid and a lot of things that I knew would affect during that time when I do want to have children. And so, we just made the perfect one. As you know, Ellie is just such a bright light. And after having her was when I started feeling a bit off, and as women and just having a baby, that can be really common. This, persisted in so many different ways. I was starting to play tennis again, and my feet were going numb and different things, nothing near my breast. So I was really proactive with seeing rheumatologists and specialty doctors and my OB and all of this, and nothing was abnormal. And it wasn't until luckily Eric found my lump that we found that, and it was very quickly after that the diagnosis happened, because, the mammogram and ultrasound led into the biopsies. And that's when I learned that breast cancer is not just in your breast, it can spread. And so when I was first diagnosed, it had spread to my lymph nodes, my lower spine, and my liver. I actually had more cancer in my liver than in my breast, which is wild when you see that visually. Yes. And so, Eric and I jumped into a whole different world of parenting that I'm so grateful. He's so wonderful and such a great caregiver and dad. But after that first year, everything looked totally different, and all of our expectations, and being able to, that first time I came home after shaving my head, and I'd already been losing so much hair, and us all being worried what Ellie would think. And then Ellie just is laughing, touching my head and liking it, and it meant nothing to her, right? And that was that. And sometimes I think as parents and moms, we care so much that we try to get ahead of, I don't want her to be scared. I don't want her to think this or that. And she was one, she wouldn't know what to think or what that meant. We
overthink stuff way too much.
Totally.
And sometimes we end up complicating it.
Yeah. And by really going through now 4 years and how much, our kids changed from ages 1 to 5, it's so amazing, seeing how smart she is, how much she can handle, what she shouldn't need to handle, and kind of each year has evolved so much. It was a while ago, 6 months ago, I was bringing Ellie home from school, and out of nowhere, she said, "Mommy, I hope you don't have to be bald again. I really love your long hair." Out of nowhere. And I was like, okay, well, what made you think it? She's like, nothing. And, I showed her the video of when she was 1, and it wasn't a sad thing. It wasn't a heavy thing. It was just I love your long hair. You look like a princess. I want you to stay like that. And it's just those types of things that I try to run towards a bit rather than run away from. Because I don't know, I might lose my hair again, depending on what treatments come down the road and things like that. But for now, I don't. And so I bring in new priorities, Ellie and I get regular blowouts together.
That's awesome.
And I started that the night before I started my last treatment, because I didn't know if I would lose my hair or not. It was a 30% chance, so most likely not. And I didn't, this is grown out now. But after we did it that night, because I was let's go get blowouts. And in my mind, I'm just in case. It's we have these photos together, our hair done. And I was that was so fun. So now we do it once a month. Her and I will have, mommy-daughter blowouts.
Well, what Elissa, I always call you Ellie, your daughter.
We're one in the same, Ellie and I. So.
What was your most difficult moment? And when you got diagnosed with breast cancer, and we will I believe we will close the show giving some perspective to women that, are in their late 30s, 40s, trying to get pregnant. How did that affect you? Things that you have learned along the way. But what has been one of the most difficult times that you have encountered raising Ellie, because she's still little, she still needs mommy, and facing chemo, bed rest, hospitals, you have gone through surgeries. What has been the most difficult time for you as Elissa, having cancer? And you haven't said, well, I'll ask that question later, because you're missing one, and I want people to know everything so we can help the audience not only on parenting, but also how to do regular checkups the right way, the proper way, who to go, where to go. So what has been the most difficult moment for you as a mother?
Yeah. Well, before I say the difficult thing, I want to share one thing that's a little bit more lighthearted, because you mentioned the age.
Yes.
So I'm 38 now. I was 34 when I was diagnosed. And I joke that I didn't know previously that there's a whole community in the cancer community that's called AYA, adolescent young adult, and you're considered a young adult until age 39. And so I joke that if you asked my oncologist, say I was a young adult, but if you asked my OB, they would say it was geriatric. Right? So I joke that my OB would be recommending ARP and my oncologist recommends Judy Blume books. But I just thought that was so interesting in being a woman in our age, how opposite that is, right? Because there's so much that changes into your 30s with having children, and then you're considered, too young and all of this to have cancer.
Yes.
And so it's interesting having that intersect. And what really was the hardest time for me was, so I had my initial 8 rounds of more stereotypical chemo. You're bald and sick and the things that you normally see. And it's because there was cancer throughout my body. So we're trying to just totally attack all that. And it worked great. And then after that, that was like this 8-round goal. And so I knew that there was an end date to that treatment. You can't do more than 8 rounds. So
Yeah.
I knew that was that. And then I went into maintenance with more targeted therapy, which was great. But it was in the maintenance that, unfortunately, I know people who have lasted 10 years on those drugs. And for me, it was about 4 months later that I ended up having a recurrence in my left breast. And they did find 2 tumors in my brain. And so there's one in my temple here and in the back of my skull. And that's when, just like when I saw the first PET scan, you're like, am I dying? Like, that's how I understood cancer going to your brain. And it was so amazing to hear what was available. Like, I did very targeted radiation treatments because I was having crazy headaches. So that tamed it down immediately. And then I went into a clinical trial with 2 FDA approved drugs, but hadn't been combined for breast cancer. And after the first 8 weeks of being on that, we did a brain MRI and everything was shrunk more than 80%. It was wild. I just assumed I'd need brain surgery or how do we treat this? And the fact that something existed to basically eliminate it was amazing. And so continued on that treatment. But the other side of that treatment was that it made me so sick, even more sick than those original rounds. I would, maybe not more sick, but it felt like that because I was in this phase of having to live with this long term. So now that I'm this is an indefinite thing. I want this treatment to last as long as it can because there's limited amounts of treatments, and that's what still makes metastatic breast cancer, unfortunately, terminal. And, the longer we can be on things, the longer we get to live, and people are living much, much longer, which is great. But I couldn't get out of bed to take her to school without throwing up. I was so exhausted and nauseous for 2 weeks at a time, every 3 weeks, that it was hard for me to do the things that we would normally do. And so luckily Eric was great at distracting her and keeping her busy and all of that, but it wasn't how I wanted to live. And it was so conflicting because I'm I said at the beginning, right? A lot of us do. I'll do whatever it takes, whatever we have to do to survive this, I'm going to do. And then you start to put into perspective, I don't know if that's true, because there was this point where I was I think that I deserve more than just survival. I deserve more than just existing and being here. And my family deserves more than that for me. So if I'm not being able to function like her mom, am I really living, And luckily I spoke up to my care team and they were it's working on the cancer, but it's not working on your quality of life. So it's not working. We need to switch. And I was so relieved because I felt so guilty making this change. It felt like a cat, giving up one of their 8 lives, And it was after that changed treatment, much better quality of life. And it put this whole new perspective on really focusing on not just surviving and staying alive, but living and thriving. And that's really where I put all my focus and energy. And that's what I think comes off to Ellie, And what's interesting now is that time it was every day I was pretty much having to be in bed. And it's not even just fatigue or tired. It was being awake hurt.
Yes.
It was beyond anything I'd ever experienced. It was the first time that I really felt clinically depressed, and I couldn't control what was happening in my brain and my life, And so now that I can, when I am tired, I'm really open about it with Ellie and we'll sit in bed together and watch something. Or when I have the energy, we go to Disney, we go to Universal, or, we do the smaller things too, just after school, maybe it's a Five Below trip and she gets to pick out a new toy. It's her favorite store. But it put a lot of things into perspective with parenting because it's we always, I think, use a lot of the analogies put on your oxygen mask first and all of that. But a lot of us don't follow that, right? We're moms.
I agree.
And
I
our
agree.
instinct,
Yes.
right, is to feel like everything is putting everyone else first. And sometimes that's for the first time that I was like, by thinking I was putting everyone else first, I was actually, you know, not giving everyone the best of what I could. And I wasn't being fair to myself. And so I think that relates not only from the cancer experience, but in general, like, you know, there's much smaller scenarios like that too, where we need to make sure to fill our cup too and take care of ourselves.
How do you take care of yourself, knowing that you have a daughter that needs you the most in those days that you said you are extremely, extremely sick? What parenting techniques do you use? I know when I had thyroid cancer, I didn't have any kids, but I know it must be very like difficult to put boundaries on Ellie, discipline Ellie, show her right from wrong without being sick, because I'm pretty sure you just wake up one day and wonder, am I gonna continue living? And I know you talk very open about that, and that's one of the reasons I dare to ask you this question. How do you put a balance into discipline, boundaries, raising Ellie the proper way without feeling guilty because you don't know how long time you'll have to live?
Yeah. And it's, you know, a reality that is important to think about, like regardless of having cancer, right?
Yes.
When we had Ellie was when we made our, you know, family living trust, and you start talking about these things. So you have a plan. And a lot of it also is knowing how to balance that she doesn't resent Eric because, you know, she's with daddy so much because mommy's not feeling well. Or even when my mom comes out, like, you know, she gets so excited for Grammy to visit, but after day 1 or 2, if I'm not available or, you know,
She
or
wants
something,
mommy.
then it's, you know, she wants me, and then she starts kind of resenting that. So it's been, you know, it's not a perfect science, but I think that over time, I try to just talk to her as much as I can as, you know, her, like treating her as an adult while knowing that she's a child, but like really letting her be a part of everything that's happening, you know? So, like when she sees the We Got This logo for the nonprofit, you know, she'll look and she'll, cancer stinks. We got this.
I love that.
And it's so cute that like she identifies these things and she feels proud to be a part of it too. And so I do work really hard at not blaming everything on cancer, because it's not. Like sometimes we're just human too. Like I get sick like a normal person also, you know? And it's really showing her like in these scenarios how we sometimes need to work together. Like, you know, I need you to be a big girl and brush your teeth and get ready because I have to get ready because I have to rush to a doctor's appointment after I drop you off. Or, you know, if Eric's taking her to school because I'm going to have to leave early for something else, or, you know, can't get out of bed that day or something. I need her to understand that like she can't just complain for mommy because here's why and here's that help. And it's evolved into now this morning, I was available to take her to school and she was like, if you don't mind, I'd really love if daddy could. And so it's exciting for me that she's like learning to understand all that comes with us as parents. And cancer is a piece that's just in our families parenting that will always be there, and it's learning how to work through that. I mean, I've always valued balance, but I've really taken it more seriously since having cancer.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like really making sure that I'm balancing what we do that's fun, but her also understanding the boundaries. And it's hard when you feel guilty if like I've been more tired than usual or things like that. And I mean, I'm so lucky to have such an amazing partner, which I'm sure you can relate to because
Yes.
Mark's so amazing.
Yeah.
And I know that, you know, that's a very lucky thing that we have that not everyone, you know, has, but really like building in our community to be a part of it, you know, and setting those expectations so that Eric doesn't always look like the bad guy, you know, and things like that, which, you know, sometimes I might, you know, could do a little bit better on, and I keep track of that kind of thing, because it's human nature, right, to just want to do everything for a child and have every moment be so perfect. But I feel like by really treating Ellie as a part of all of this has made it, you know, more fun, more doable. And I think that allows her to feel more empowered to like listen and do more things independently and all of that. It's there's a book called Cancer Loves Kisses. Cancer. There's a book called Cancer Hates Kisses.
Yes.
And we read that to her. And I started using that as an example. Like if I'd go to the gym, I came back one time and she's like, Mommy, were you at the gym because cancer hates when you work out? I was like, yes. So I've really tried to like empower her to understand some of these things more as kind of so that I don't have to be super disciplinary. But of course, that those times come and she's a kid just like anyone else. So just really using the same parenting that I've always used, but having a different lens on. And we all have that to some degree, right? I mean, I say this all the time to, mom friends of that who are pregnant while having their 1, 2, or 3 children already,
yes.
right? And you think of people living with other chronic diseases, like having diabetes or other things that you're navigating and dealing with. And so we're all just doing our best, and incorporating that in felt natural because having such a great family unit and having Ellie know that like what we're doing is because of her best interests has helped a lot.
But do you have any parenting tips,
Yeah,
or do
yeah.
you use time out, or do you just simply sit down when she's having a moment because she's a toddler? How do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, all the above for sure. But I'd say the biggest parenting tip that I found is I can tell when how she's acting is like not rationally herself. And it's like if she's just having a tantrum over something, or she's, maybe yelling or being mean or something like that because she wants something, I can tell when it's like spiraled into this overtired or she's having emotions. And I try to wait a second. Like I try to just let her have her moment rather than disciplining her like immediately.
Right away. Yes.
And so when she kind of has that moment and, settles down for a second, I'll usually make a joke like, oh, Ellie's back. Okay, can I talk to Ellie real quick?
I love that.
And then I'll talk to her about like, here's why that's not okay, And it's over time become very manageable, but it's also identifying, because Eric has a harder time with that, right? Like, he gets anxious to react quicker. And I understand it. But I think there's something about how, like, when I relax and I just let her have her moment, because I mean, as adults, I think we can relate to that too, and then talk to her like I'm talking to Ellie, because I feel like when she's having those moments that I know she's not like herself, she's not Ellie. And that's helped a lot, that even in the moments sometimes we can sometimes break through with humor.
Yeah.
And being like, sorry, can you go find Ellie, because this isn't the Ellie I'd like to hang out with right now. And sometimes she'll be like, stop it, and it'll be worse. But a lot of times over time, using that like humor and just being like, let's be each other, and we're respectful, right? We don't do that. And letting her know what's wrong has helped so much. And then, of course, there's times where it's like, you can't have that candy, we can't buy this thing, but I try to really bring in, when she's being rational, the logic of why. Like, we're not going to buy this toy because you have so many toys at home, or like you already have something like that. But, when they're having an irrational tantrum, sometimes it's not so easy. But I found doing it more and more, which is hard, because it's like, when you're potty training or when you're sleep training or any of these things, it's so hard to do the work on the front end.
Yes.
But I feel like by doing it continually, it's really paid off now, over the past 4 years of her growing. And really the past 2 years, I feel like, is when you're like an adult now. Like, you're like a teenager.
They're
talking.
teenagers.
And so we got to revisit how we're giving disciplinary action, because she's like too smart for some of it
sometimes.
Yeah.
And I believe every age comes with their own challenges, and as they grow, we as parents, we can implement what is best and what it works, because what worked for you, it can work for me, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So it's Ellie, I never asked you this, is Ellie IVF?
Not IVF. We did IUI, And it actually worked both times. The first time, unfortunately, we miscarried, and then the second time was Ellie.
Okay.
So, relative to fertility treatments, I feel, grateful that happened.
Was a possibility.
One of the hard things was after the miscarriage, it took a long time for my hormones to come down, and different complications there. But yeah, IUI with her.
Okay. Did you think that with everything you have learned throughout all these 4 years and being diagnosed with metastatic for breast cancer, do you think that IUI affected or triggered any hormonal issues that you end up being diagnosed with breast cancer?
I don't think that the IUIs did at all, because actually my type of breast cancer is called HER2 positive, and I'm actually estrogen and progesterone negative.
Okay.
So my particular type of breast cancer is not hormone driven. So that's kind of interesting on that end. I will say that there's a lot happening. There's a lot of documentaries being made and research studies being done of women having their, particularly for stage 4 breast cancer, surfacing after giving birth. So I don't know a lot about that. I haven't dove in a ton to it, but it's definitely, something that seems so uncommon. But like, I have other friends in their 30s who were diagnosed stage 4 breast cancer after giving birth to their child. So it's interesting on that end. I also, because I did have endometriosis growing up, had used birth control to contain that, like of having very painful periods and things like that. So there's continually new studies on that could be relevant. I don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah. What's interesting is I kind of look at with all these things, there's definitely things that can increase risk factors and all of that. But like, if I think of, IVF or IUIs, I have tons of friends who have had those that don't have cancer.
They're fine.
And I also, just for mine, because it was stage 4 right away, I would imagine that it was growing longer than just that process.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we just don't know all the answers to it, which is
What
a
does it
bummer.
mean, estrogen and progesterone negative?
So there's 3 main types of, like, in breast cancer. HER2 positive is what I am, which essentially is very fast growing. It's very aggressive. It used to be the deadliest because there weren't treatments targeted to it. But luckily now there's a lot of targeted therapies, which is why even though when I'm in chemo, I now have hair, because when I'm on more targeted treatments, it's not attacking all my cells. So it's not getting like my hair follicles or other, drastic symptoms. But then the hormone side of things, if I were hormone positive, I most likely would have already been put into early menopause, right away, things like that. But I don't need to do that because that wouldn't increase my odds of being, of survival and things like that. So the hormone piece will bring in a lot more with types of treatments that can treat it, because having estrogen and progesterone will actually fuel the cancer. In my case, that's not the case. So luckily I haven't had to do early menopause yet, because there's a whole other slew of side effects and symptoms throughout the cancer community that people can relate to on that end too. That can be a lot.
Wow. My friend, how you're an inspiration to me, and I have always told you since we began, being more closer and closer and build an incredible friendship. And not only us, but our husbands and our kids. How do you keep, Elissa, life in perspective? How you are vulnerable without being affected? Since I met you, you are like so happy. Even though in your worst moments, you are happy. You host people. You literally, you are living like it matter. And sometimes, me included, we don't see it that way. And, you are such an example, not only for women that are battling breast cancer or any kind of cancer, but also that they're mother, that they're going through divorce, they're in abusive relationship, you name it. Like, how do you keep life in perspective? You have faith in like, I'm gonna beat this. You wake up every day stronger than ever. How?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I feel same sentiments to you. The first thing is redefining what beating it meant to me. Like, I've really spent a lot of time kind of redefining what winning means in different areas. And if beating cancer was being in remission or cured from it, I think I'm going to be very down throughout my lifetime, because that might not happen in my lifetime. But I've realized along the way that there's so many things that have developed. Like, the life expectancy for HER2 positive metastatic breast cancer was like 18 to 24 months, not that long ago. That was like the average. And the amount of solutions and treatments that we have now to not only be containing the cancer, but to let us live life is amazing. And so I try to really focus on those ends of things versus, the other aspects that are, kind of frustrating to have to deal with. But I'm also super real about it. I think that early on, when I was first diagnosed, I made the decision consciously to post about it and to be public about it. And I did it for a couple reasons, because one, I didn't want to have to update everyone like every single time something happened.
Your family members.
Much easier to just have it there, and then people can then always follow up and stuff. But it's like, I don't have to explain, because this stuff's confusing, right? I mean, it's so confusing.
And you are extremely transparent in your good, your bad, and your regular moments. Extremely transparent about it.
Yeah. And then through that, being real about it, like I'm not, doing toxic positivity or saying like there's things that just suck, right? That's the nonprofit's logo, is cancer sucks, but together we got this. And that's truly who I am, of identifying that. But what I've really realized is, so much of who I am is who I've always been. And I feel like I've been given this cancer card to be just an amplified version of that I've really, leaned into. And when really, like, if I want to write a book, if I want to start a podcast or do something, I don't think about it for years. I just do it. I'm really going after the things that I'm enjoying doing. And if I have fun with it, then it's a win-win no matter what. But I've always thought, like, in my career and in my life, in my normal career before cancer,
you were very successful.
Thank you.
Before being diagnosed. Yes.
I worked in financial services, mainly in corporate retirement plans and all sales and development. And I was always about being collaborative and all of that, which has like built up to be used in the best of ways now, which is so enjoyable. But, I would have always thought, like, if something like this happened, if I got a life-changing diagnosis, I would just quit my job. I would, all these things, right? If I won the lottery, I wouldn't work. I would do this. And for the first time in my life, like, what I'm doing is what I would do. I haven't gone and paid for it yet over the past few years. If I won the lottery today, I wouldn't change a thing. Like, I love what I'm doing so much that, getting to travel and talk to people about living like it matters, getting to do these initiatives for wegotthis.org and our partnerships, and getting to be a part of this bigger cancer community and everyone affected by cancer, which is unfortunately everyone, is so fulfilling that, like, I don't want to stop. So what I've really found is, like, incorporating as much as I can family into it. So, like, I love that Ellie feels connected to it. Eric's so helpful, definitely my IT guy.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But then I just got back from New York, and October's a big month for breast cancer awareness specifically, even though the nonprofit's for all types of cancer. I really leaned in this year of doing a lot personally myself, which was kind of the first year I felt comfortable doing that, and it felt really good to do. But, like, I think about it previously of, like, would never travel. I'm going to stay home with my daughter, spend every second with her. And I love Ellie and I love Eric so much. And I also value me so much. And I've learned that, like, by showing Ellie that, like, here's, and I get to come home and show her the news interview I was on, or the talk I did, or the kids we delivered Lego kits to. And, like, she thinks it's so cool. And her seeing that, to me, like, is a part of doing stuff, everything that I do for Ellie. And so I've thought of that more recently with some of the travel, because I feel guilty and I'm not gone for that long, but we miss each other.
Yes.
And so we found really good ways to make her feel a part of it. And I just think it's so important that I still do the things that fill my cup, that are me, because it allows me to be my best self for everyone around me, most importantly, Ellie. And my favorite thing is whenever she sees my book, the dedication is to her. And she can't read. She always has me read it to her, but she knows her name. So, if we're at Barnes & Noble at the Commons, we'll go over to where my book is, and she'll open it and she'll be like, this is me.
Mommy.
This is my-"
Oh.
And it's just these things to like be able to bring in, I think, is so important, because learning to be there for people while still being there for ourselves is hard. And I don't think I would have done it as well without being forced to.
How do you feel your cup dealing with metastatic breast cancer? How Elisa takes time for Elisa. Forget about the mother, forget about the wife, the daughter. You're an incredible daughter. Love your mom. Marcy, hello.
Hi, Mom.
And how do you take time for yourself? Because you previously mentioned that, you were dealing a lot with depression. So I know you have had, because we're close friends, your tough moments, but people that doesn't know you, it's like you really are a ray of sunshine. You want everyone to live. You will do anything and everything to make a difference in the cancer world. So how do you feel your cup pouring out to so many people?
Well, the 6 months of that treatment that I was depressed during, and I couldn't get out of bed without throwing up and all of these things, it was like, that was when I learned what not living felt like. Like I existed, I was here, but I did not feel alive, right? And that was what really flipped the switch for me, to be like, I'm never going to let that happen again. And my oncologist and I have this agreement that's like, she's like, you speak up when there's side effects that are too rough or all this. She's like, if we're at a point where I need you to suck it up, she's like, I will let you know, but we're not even close to there yet, And so ever since that, I valued so much making sure that I get to be me. And what does fill my cup, which I think is such a great thing, it's a win-win for everything, is like doing the nonprofit piece and getting to make my mark on people going through hard times, whether, we're specifically for cancer, but just all of these things, grief, that's something I think grieving my brother is, the hardest thing I've gone through, not cancer. It's like, there's just so many elements that change these things, but identifying like what makes me happy. When I was going to start the nonprofit, it was like my 5th round of original chemo. A lot of my friends were like, please just take care of yourself. Like, go golf, go play tennis, or just just take care of yourself. And it was in my 5th round that I was like, I can't just be in this. Like, I don't want to just accept that I'm here to be a cancer patient. Like, this is going to be the rest of my life. And that's where I just, started making some phone calls. And as I started working a little bit on it, I was like, this feels good. Like, this is fun. And it's been so amazing that is really, truly like what fills my cup.
Give you purpose.
Give me purpose. I have, this life mission of doing these things, because it not only is directly for the people that I care about, like family and friends, it's for everyone. And to be able to create something that can make an impact to everyone is what I never really thought. I always enjoyed what I did. I helped people plan for retirement and all of these things, but like, this unlocked a whole new level of like fulfillment and joy and connection that I never knew I could tap into. And especially this month has been really fulfilling, I was in New York, I got to meet, someone came to my talk that I did at Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital, who had followed me from the beginning on Instagram. And, she had messaged me and I knew who she was when I met her and everything. But like meeting her in person and hearing that she got diagnosed not too long after me, that like I've been a part of her cancer experience, like that I've helped her feel like she could live through that. Like that's the stuff that's like, I can't believe that I've been able to do that.
that you're impacting so many people without even knowing.
Without even knowing, yeah. And, I feel like other than the cancer part, which is like, I don't wish on anyone and I wish I didn't have, and I wish a lot of times we didn't need to have that to like have this wake up call. So a lot of what I say to people, right?
I know what you're talking about because unfortunately, I'm a thyroid cancer, let's call it survivor in a very different way, but also, my daughter, family members. My cousin just got diagnosed with cancer 3 months ago, breast cancer.
So sorry to hear that.
And it's just like sometimes we lose perspective of life. And like you said, like we don't need to have a wake up call just to make a switch.
Yeah. I always joke, like if anyone needs a wake up call, you can just use mine as an example. Don't wait to have it yourself. But like, cancer is not a prerequisite to living life. And like, we should live like it matters no matter what. And really what sparked all this for me was like how amazing it was that everyone wanted to help when I was diagnosed, right? And people want to help us genuinely. And it felt like such a shame to me that I didn't know the right way for them to help. It felt overwhelming. It was like this unintentional burden. I felt like if we could create something that wasn't a burden on either side, but made it easier to give and receive in the hard times, like we should do that. And that's really why the gift registry, it's so much more than a gift registry, right? It's really about being able to feel connected and a part of things when we're not sure how to involve people or let them in. We don't know what we need. And so creating all of that and building upon that to me is like how we can build community without putting that stress and burden on the people who are going through what they're going through.
Talk us about, you mentioned the gift registry. Tell the parenting experience audience, what is your gift registry? Because it's not a bridal registry and it's not a baby shower, but it's also such a unique way to bless cancer patients.
Yeah, well, so WeGotThis.org is the first nonprofit gift registry for cancer patients. And it's patients, survivors, thrivers, like whatever people feel like they might need throughout their cancer experience, that's what it's there for. And the idea is that when everyone asks us what we need, we don't really know, or we don't really want to ask for help and all of that. And because I told everyone at the beginning, it's okay, like just you reaching out is amazing, thank you, that's all I need, I don't need anything. People are going to do things anyway. You know that. You're the best at that. If you tell Tata you're not hungry, she's going to show up with a 5-course meal at your house.
People. That's true.
Yeah. And so when I started chemo, I mean, I couldn't taste for a lot of the time my initial chemo. I didn't know yet what diet I was going to follow. Like, all these things that I didn't really want people like just sending meals or other things. Everyone sent blankets. I got like 30 blankets at one point of just like, because I wouldn't tell them a specific thing I needed, they just thought of like what they could send that would comfort me. Wow. And it was so nice, right? And like how wonderful that people want to help. But I was like, that feels like a waste. And I wish that they could feel more like we want to help each other and feel connected in an experience. So not only creating the registry makes it so that people can get what they need, but it also lets our supporters know, like, I love Bomba socks because I would get cuticle infections in my toes from chemo, and there's no seams in the toes. How would anyone know that? I'm not going to talk to people about my toe infections often, but it was this thing now that a lot of people who know me are aware of. And it kind of, I think, makes everyone feel more connected. And so that's what the registry is really there for. It's to make giving and receiving easier in the times like cancer. And you can also ask for donations, just like GoFundMe. We just launched a recommendation shop. So in the registry, you can register for anything, anywhere. And I really encourage people to not only register for like the barf bags and wigs, like register for the concert tickets. Like there's these moments in between chemo that you tend to feel normal. And like you should get to do those things and feel normal. And I think the feedback I got initially was people being like, I want so bad to feel comfortable doing that. And I feel guilty when people are sending me things, but I feel okay that day. And it's like, they're not sending you things because they want you to be sick every day. They want to help with whatever's going to make your life easier through this experience.
Totally.
Yeah. So we added on a recommendation shop though, because people were also like, I don't know what I need. So we've separated by symptom, treatment, all these new filters. And we've partnered with so many different awesome brands through Shopify Collective.
That's amazing.
So we have over 1,000 products on there just from the past few months of launching it. And then we also create a resource directory of all other nonprofits that people can search for and free resources, whether it's financial support or retreats or podcasts, like things that will be helpful during the time as well.
Is the register, Elisa, nationwide or worldwide?
It's nationwide right now. I'm working on making it global. We've had a lot of requests, particularly in like Canada and Australia, New Zealand for some reason. I don't know if that's like where a lot of through social media have seen it. We're working on it. So I'm working with the developers to figure that out. It's like a whole other beast. But yeah, right now it's just national, and we're working on making it global.
That's amazing. That's incredibly amazing. Yeah. So let's talk about your other half.
Yes.
Our precious caregiver, Eric.
Yes.
I know no one asks Eric, how are you doing? Because I have seen the back of your family and the tough moments that you guys have endured as a couple, parents, him taking care of you, taking care of Ellie. How does that has been, because I'm pretty sure there's some negative things, how you keep your marriage alive, how, I'm pretty sure you're, like any other couple, you guys argue, you guys fight, there's tough moments, incredible moments as well. How does Eric has been able to handle, all of this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. And the caregiver really is like the invisible patient, right? There's a lot that comes with having cancer that like immediately, you're an inspiration, you're a hero and all these things. And the caregiver is the one there like taking on all these things with you, but not getting the same kind of recognition and support, or even on a level of like the things that might be covered for me to, have help in medically or with a therapist, things like that aren't necessarily covered the same way for our caregivers. We've actually been really active in that, and caregivers research I think is so important and such a huge part of the we. So, a lot of it is identifying how much does get put on him sometimes and how much he shows up. And that's really where it becomes such a balance of like, sometimes I'll overdo it, right? Because you take for granted when you have such an amazing guy in your life. And that's when, we'll have those conversations. What's helped us out the most throughout our relationship in general, and it's really paid off during our cancer era here, is we talk about things that bother us, and a lot of times we'll end most of those discussions with us both apologizing, in the sense that like, even if he did something that maybe like it was with good intention, but like it actually made things difficult or something, and we have that conversation and I tell him, and we might get annoyed or whatever with each other, but we usually finish the discussion like how we can make it better. Like, there's a lot of reallocating shared calendars and things. Okay. That's probably the biggest thing I stress him out with, because I'm running around so much and there's so much unpredictable things. But of like identifying both where we're both coming from, because he can't relate to exactly what I'm going through and I can't relate to exactly what he's going through. And so the best we can do is empathize and be there for each other to and try to understand it. Yes, which
good sex.
Absolutely. Like, and that's a thing throughout cancer treatment, and depending on the treatments, like can, change drastically.
Of course. Like, people make it seem like a taboo, but it
should be talked about so much more. There's actually a brand called Taboo that does like medical grade. There's a few of them now, I think, do like medical grade things that are helpful for, going through whether it be menopause or cancer and other stuff. And it's not talked about as much, and there's not as many solutions, because a lot of it comes down to like, well, you should be grateful to be alive. And it's like, yeah, but I also deserve to have a sex life. I deserve to,
like have a normal, regular couple. It's healthy, not only for you, but also for Eric. That gives so much, because
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm pretty, I know you have Marcy, and, at some point you had an incredible nanny that it has been such an incredible blessing to your
Yeah.
life. We heard about her support you in your early stages of the cancer. It's like no one sees the back, what is happening behind curtains,
Yeah.
and to keep a couple alive, sex is important.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all those things. And like, I mean, I think in a lot of ways, Eric's love language is a lot of like, like not just sex, but physical touch and connection. So like we've really made it a priority to have a date night once a week. And sometimes it gets derailed by like travel or other things. But we've been pretty good about like making sure that like we have time that we get to go out to dinner and catch up, because sometimes so much is happening. We like
Exactly.
forget to tell each other throughout the day.
And kids can take that time away very easily.
Totally. And it's those types of being aware of it. It's like we're never going to be perfect at any of these things, but as long as we're aware of it, we'll constantly be working towards finding those solutions. But it's always different, like how he had to be a caregiver when I couldn't get out of bed versus now, where I can travel and other
Exactly.
things. It's a totally different thing. And but again, like I mentioned grief earlier, it's very similar, like of not understanding, like you're not in the other person's shoes. And as much as we want to be able to relate, we want to fix things, right? And that was a big thing at the beginning, is like some things can't be fixed. Like I'm not, and isn't it like a parenting thing? Like ask your child, like, do you want me to fix this or do you want me to listen?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I totally agree. So how's Eric now?
Eric's doing great. I mean, I feel like he's really coming into his own of taking more chances and things, because
He has a very demanding job
Yeah.
as well.
So, I mean, Eric's so talented and amazing and loves what he does. And I'm so proud of him. But I've kind of always been the crazy one, right? Like I've been more entrepreneurial, taking chances. I make moves really quickly, whereas Eric is like the stable one and he's the rock. And I'm excited now that I think, we've always felt our relationships rubbed off on each other.
Yes.
Like I'm more the business side, he's more the creative side, and we've both kind of given each other a little bit of ourselves. And he's finally like gonna take more leaps into doing the things he wants to do and all this stuff. And it like makes me so excited for him to not feel he's such a rule follower, like in all aspects of life. And I'm more of an ask for forgiveness, not permission kind of gal,
Yes.
as I'm sure you know. So yeah, he's doing great. And I feel like because he's branching out into more projects and, more riskier things, it's like, to me, that tells me that he's feeling more comfortable about everything, because he's like also prioritizing himself, like we said, is so
Exactly.
important. And so I'm really proud of him for leaning into that and still just being superhuman of all the things.
We love you, Eric.
Love you, Eric.
Yeah.
You're the best.
He really is. He's incredible. Now, a subject that I know it's very important for you, but also very sentimental. Marcy lost one child.
Yes.
And I know how important your brother was in your life. How Marcy is handling you, her daughter. Marcy
Yeah.
comes and goes from Florida to LA every 3-4 months, checking on her baby. And I know it's a lot for her. And it has been such an incredible gift, get to know her, be with her. But she already lost a child with the possibility of maybe losing another one. How you and Marcy are handling this?
Yeah. Well, and so for people who don't know the story, and I write about it in the book,
Yes.
which felt really, liberating, because my brother died. It's actually it'll be 10 years, November 19th. And he passed away very suddenly from an accidental drug overdose. And that's a different thing to talk about than cancer, right? And there's a lot more that goes with that, and stigma and other things. And it wasn't my story to tell. And so it wasn't something that, if in person, I mean, would talk about it. But, I don't think a lot of people necessarily knew, if they only knew, not as close to discuss it. And he had, issues throughout his life. And as a kid, it went, from different things like me just being obsessed with my older brother to me hating him because, he'd skip school and he'd have all these issues and drugs and all this stuff. But he really, got it together. Like we became really close. And really, I would say is the last like 8 years of his life. And it was so unexpected when it happened because he was doing so well that it really threw us, I think, for a loop. And when people have read that in the book or know about it, and then with what I'm going through, the first thing they say is like, oh my God, your parents, this must be so difficult and all of that. And I can't speak for them because, of course, but I like to think, and I think from what my mom especially has said of like all these things that I'm doing, at first, I think it would make my parents anxious seeing me doing so much while treating my cancer. And here we are 4 years later with me doing so well that they realize like it's me doing all these things that is helping me to live. And it obviously isn't hurting my treatment because it's all been working really well. And so lately it's been more like she'll get so excited when she sees like an updated post of content or something, or like speaking or wherever I am and being like, it just makes me so excited that you're up for doing this, And so that's been a big piece of it, but I'm sure a lot of heaviness with it too. But as you can see, like the conversations we have, and of course tears get shed sometimes, but a lot of times like when I'm talking about this, like I'm not sad about it. Talking about my brother and that, I definitely get a lot more sad, but like with the cancer experience, there's so much to be happy about. Not the cancer. That part is stupid.
Sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. But the silver linings from it and like the way that people and friends and family come together is like, that's what I think has really helped my parents get through it. And, my mom visiting for periods of time and all of these things have helped out a lot. I know it was hard for my dad initially when, just being public about cancer. My parents weren't used to everything being on the internet. And this was,
Trust me, I know what you're talking about.
And this was just, my family and friends. I didn't have as, big of a community then of people I didn't necessarily know in person. But when I kind of made it clear, like, this is how I'm going to do it, because this is like how I feel more comfortable, kind of was like, and now I think he can see like, wow, this is what you needed. And look at the people who then, my mom will meet who are like, I follow Elissa and it's helped so much with my cancer experience or my daughter's cancer experience. Like, it's exciting that we get to be a part of it together. And as you know, like the 90s party, my mom was there in her full out like overalls, and like, it's really fun to just make this something that doesn't have to be just sad and tragic, like really pulling out like how much good there is in all of us being able to tackle hard things together.
That's incredible. Marcy is super strong.
She's superhero. Learn from the best.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Are you afraid to die?
Oh, good question. Oh, you're just like, boom.
Well, I know you talk. If I dare to ask you that, is because you really are extremely open about it. And like I said, I went through thyroid cancer. It took me years not only to recover after my surgery, but also mentally, physically, due to gaining so much weight. It took me like 10 to 12 years. And it did cross my mind. I ended up being depressed. Yeah. And cancer does run on my mom's side of the family. So, and I was very open in my good moments. It's like, I was like you. I want to live, with purpose. Yeah. And not waste my time. And I know you're so open about it. And I'm pretty sure the way I know you have already your will ready, Ellie being taken care of, Eric taken care of. So I am pretty sure your answer will bless a lot of people, Elissa, because we tend as human beings, as being, instead of being open to be free, we tend to become insiders of our problems, our thoughts, and that eats us up. Yeah, as human beings. Absolutely. So I am pretty sure your answer will bless a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I'm not afraid of dying, but my biggest fear is not being able to live. And that's when that became a reality, when I did feel like I wasn't living. And unfortunately, we're all terminal, right? We're all going to die someday.
Yes.
And I kind of word it like, because people are like, we could have a car crash tomorrow. And it's like, yeah. And then like when you have cancer, you're kind of like, you're in the passenger seat without the seatbelt on, in traffic constantly. There's a lot more odds to it. But it's the dying part. I think a lot about the living piece. So it's like when I live the way that feels so fulfilling and whole to me, it doesn't make me as afraid of dying because I'm living out like everything that is who I am and my life's purpose and with my family. But when I don't get to do that, it's the not being able to really live. Like staying alive and living to me are two different things. And that's the piece that I realized scared me more than anything. And of course, dying and leaving behind, definitely think about it. Like, and Eric and I kind of have to have some of those conversations. Yeah, of like, I know that when Ellie would be so attached to me and wouldn't want to be with Daddy as much, because kids have their parent and all of that. In my head, I'm like, we got to figure this out, because what if, God forbid, something happened to me, then I'm not here. And so I've always had that at the top of my mind, and not a negative way, like not making it something that has to be all sad, looking at it pragmatically of like, I'm going to make the most out of every moment I have living. And I'm going to do everything that I can to leave the legacy that I want to leave, whether I live to past 100 or not, And so that's really the piece to me that like redefining what all that looks like is so critical. And when we're going through these things, our mortality becomes more of a relevant conversation. And I lose friends. The more that I'm in the cancer community, the more friends that I lose. And I wouldn't trade it. Having to go through more grief is the price to being able to be a part of so many more people's lives that are going through hard times. And so, the short answer is no, I'm not afraid of dying. But I think a lot of where I learned that from was because of how much I value life. And I want so badly for Ellie to know cancer and understand it as something that mommy lived with, not as something that mommy died from.
That's amazing. Do you talk very openly to Ellie about it?
About cancer, to be honest, probably not so much about the death part. We probably haven't really gone into that a ton. But we have had experiences where like if a kid in school's parent is going through chemo for something or that, like the teacher has let us know. And so that's when we kind of get a bit more proactive in discussing like more of the intricacies. So along the way, it's like, mommy has cancer and we go through what that means and how sometimes, I might be more sick and I have to get medicine to keep me alive and all those types of things. But it's constantly a different pivot of how we're expressing it. And it just seems like it kind of flows when it feels right.
Do you have used a therapy with Eric to navigate everything with Ellie?
No.
No?
We have worked with a lot of child life therapists, like through, I haven't had like formal counseling for that. But luckily in this realm, there's a lot of really great organizations that focus on exactly this, like parenting through cancer. And we've used a lot of their resources, their workbooks. Like there's a nonprofit called the Bright Spot Network that's for parents with cancer. So Ellie and I have done like virtual meetings with other families, and they'll send you like a kit that's like a coloring thing. And so through a lot of that, I've learned like different ways in what she resonates most with. And digging into it. But I'm sure that as things evolve, like more and more things will come up and we can't predict what will happen. But we've been through some of the hardest things I could imagine. And Eric has remained so amazing, and Ellie's really, gone through it, that I feel like we're ready for stuff. But it's a good question, because if something did come up that we felt like we couldn't handle, I'd absolutely enlist more help.
Okay. One word that describes Eric.
Oh, only one?
Yeah. Let's make it hard.
Yeah, that is hard. I mean, like for me, he's so my soulmate. Like he is definitely my soulmate. We were just, and I don't know if that's something that I believed in before or not, but like we were so destined to be together and provide like everything that each other needs. But he's my
My friend,
hero.
someone with your story could have run away, and Eric hasn't.
And I
He's
try,
like,
and it's not uncommon, and so I try to really,
Yeah.
you know, I really understand how lucky I am, and that it shouldn't have to be that way, but at the same time, like so many people are not with the right person when this happens, and it becomes
Totally.
obvious in a very hard way, and
And
I know you can relate.
the reason
Yeah.
why I mention it is because I did have a friend that literally got diagnosed with melanoma, and her fiance walked away. So I said, so it does happen. Okay, one word that describes Ellie.
Oh, I kind of like tenacious for her.
Yes, she is.
She is. She's just so amazing. Like she's the coolest person I've ever met. I can't believe I created her with Eric.
She really is. I love her sassiness. One word that describes Marcy.
Oh, she's the ultimate caregiver, I think. She just cares so much about everyone else. Like even when I remember being at my brother's funeral and my mom being there helping everyone else in the family. And you know, it's just she just wants everyone to be good, and she lives it, you know, like 100% of the
Yes.
time. And I think that that's a really rare quality.
She comes here is how's Nikki? Like,
Yeah, and she is
she's-
just the most genuine, caring person that I've ever met, and I'm grateful that I at least get like a little that those are my cancer's not genetic, but I always joke that you know my badassness and caretaking from her is. So I got a lot from my mom. Yeah.
one word that describes people doesn't know, but you know your brother left someone here on Earth, your nephew.
Oh yeah. Oh, my nephew. Seeing my nephew and Ellie together is the cutest thing ever. My nephew is just he's a bright light and really living. He's a legacy. He's the legacy of. I know my brother would be so proud, and just like so excited for all that he's done and is doing, and you know, have to believe he's seeing it, and I'm grateful that my sister-in-law was pregnant when my brother passed, and you know, having Zach here is like a dream come true. That
greatest
is amazing. Yeah.
Okay, Mama, we are wrapping it up, but thank you for coming. But before we close it, what would you like to tell the people from the parenting experience about you, about we got this, live like it matters, whatever you want to, I want you to do the closing.
Okay.
Not me. Yes. And I know we will put all the information in social media about your, you know, whoever needs, you know, your doctors, the therapists, whoever we will share the information, but you can do the closing.
Okay. Well, thank you. This was so fun, and this is what we need to make sure that we hang out. We got to like block out, even if
my
it's not
God.
recorded. We just need to be like, we must talk.
Yes,
This one-
we need to.
It's hard. We're
Haven't
moving a
seen you
million
like
miles.
in 3 months,
I've been
and we
traveling.
live 3 minutes away from each other.
Yeah, it's nuts, all the components. But what I will say that I hope everyone hears, whether you have cancer or not, parenting, all these things, we all deserve to live like it matters. And we should do that regardless of our situation. And I think the biggest thing as a mom, as a parent, and going through this life is you don't have to prove anything to anyone at all. You know, you don't have to prove, you know, cancer, you know, patients, survivors, thrivers, like there are so many hard times of it that people don't feel as comfortable showing. And you don't have to be the strong one all the time. Being the mom, like we all have our moments. Everyone else is going through it. And the person who might not seem like they are going through it is. You know, we all have our things. So you don't have to prove anything to anyone. And I really think that that's something we all need to take with us. Whatever you're doing, I always feel so strongly of whatever choices you make, whatever you're doing as a parent, that's the right thing. Like, you know best. And that goes into who you hire to be a part of that experience, who you enlist help with. Like, as you identify that, everything you're doing is the best you can possibly do. So everyone out there, you're awesome. I'm really proud of you, and keep doing it.
Thank you, Mama. Thank you so much for sharing your life, your testimony, what you're going through is remarkable, the human being that you are, living with such an incredible purpose. Thank you for being our friends. We are so grateful that you became our closest people when we got here in LA. And I appreciate you so, so much. Thank you for being in the parenting experience.
Thank you for creating it. It's going to help so many people. You're amazing.
Thank you, Mama. I love you.
Love you too.
Tell us a little bit about, Elissa, about your book. Yeah. Elissa wrote a book. Since this woman doesn't have anything to do, her hands are free. She goes through chemo. She's a mother, businesswoman, financial entrepreneur, a speaker. She wrote a book. We got this. And she has a podcast that we, name it at the beginning of the episode, Live Like It Matters. Mama, tell us about your book. Where can we find it? And the reason why you wanted it to, since you don't have anything on your plate, you decided to wrote We Got This.
Yeah, well, so you can find the book. It's on Amazon. It's in a bunch of Barnes & Nobles and stores, depending on where you're located. You can also find it on wegotthis.org, and all the copies on wegotthis.org come signed, which is a fun added perk. But it's been an amazing experience. Writing the book was so therapeutic, so it was really great. Throughout the book and the podcast, everything you can find. I'm most active on Instagram at Elissa Kalver. It's hard to keep up with all the initiatives I do, but the ones recently I'm really excited about is the book and the podcast, Live Like It Matters. It does not have a separate account on Instagram, but you can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts, Live Like It Matters with Elissa Kalver, and on YouTube. So we do video recordings for each one too. And you can also see more from my personal story and speaking in the book at elissakalver.com. Everything on the nonprofit side, you can see at wegotthis.org. We have so many fun initiatives and updates to definitely check out on there. And wegotthis.org is a website for everyone affected by cancer, whether it be the gift registry, the free resource directory, recommendation shop. I hope that everyone finds some help there. And if you need anything or have any questions, message us. It's really, I'm the only full-time person at We Got This, and I have an awesome team of part-time contractors that help out, and we're happy to help in any scenario that you might need and whatever we can possibly do.
What led you to write We Got This? This is your personal life, your cancer life. What is it?
Well, it's funny because I wasn't going to name it We Got This. I was like, I have to separate some things. And yeah, that one's addressed to you. But it just, that's who I am. Like, we named the nonprofit We Got This because that's what I said. Like, throughout treatment, it didn't feel right saying I got this or you got this. That felt lonely. Like, where are we? It's all a part of us being able to tackle things together. So when I started getting into speaking and meeting more thought leaders and things who had books, I'm like, oh, I'm never going to write a book. So what, maybe I'll do a podcast or something else. And I really do enjoy more of the conversational in-person media. But, an opportunity came up. I met the owner, the publisher, and we started, talking about what it would entail. And I started thinking about like all these old notes that I would write notes in the middle of the night through treatment and things to remember. And I started pulling from those things and being like, it would be really fun to try to turn this into something. And I'm so grateful I took the time to do that. People had gifted me journals and things early on in chemo, and they were like, keep a journal, you want to write a book someday? And I'm like, haha, yeah. And I'm like, I won't do that, but thank you. But it was so amazing because I kind of did keep a journal through all the content that I kept doing, whether it be with We Got This or my personal social media and things that I would jot notes from. And kind of pulling back from that was like such a fulfilling experience. And I also looked back to my career in field hockey I played in college, and other things that I've had that really relate back to the collaborative spirit and other things to navigate through. So I'm really proud of it. The response has been really encouraging, and I just appreciate everyone's support so much.
Well, for the parenting experience, we got this. Please go buy Elissa's book. It's in Barnes & Noble's, Amazon.
Yep.
I got mine on Amazon.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. And what else?
You can find it on wegotthis.org too.
Elissa Kalver.
Yeah.
Mama, I shouldn't say this, but you're a badass.
You're a badass.
And I truly admired and have so much respect for you. You inspire people to live like it matters. And I am so grateful. I don't take our friendship for granted. When I was down, you, in the midst of your chemo, you were there. And Eric and Ellie. So we are so grateful.
Well, likewise.
You are part of our village here in LA.
Thank you. And likewise. And like I said, I mean, you tell Tata you have like a little bit of a cough. You will have homemade soup.
I'll feed you.
She is just,
we're Latino. We'll feed people.
Yeah, she could be out of town. I think you would fly back. You deliver it.
Yep.
You were just the best. So thank you for all that you're doing for all the parents out there.
I love you.
I love you too.
Yay. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this week's episode of The Parenting Experience. You can write in and ask your questions on our show's Instagram page at The Parenting Experience, and we will address your questions on an upcoming episode. If this episode helped you, we would love for you to share this episode with your partner, your sister, brother, and extended friends and family. Share the knowledge and support we're giving to you. Please rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and we will greatly appreciate it.